Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's about 3:35. I'm gonna be. I'm doing this right now because in about 2 hours I'll be picked up by my brother-in-law to go work um, in the Bay Area for his pressure washing business. But anyway, before that though, I want to talk about something that I was just inspired to do by watching Nostalgia Critic's latest editorial on why the Super Mario comics in Nintendo Power don't suck, and you should check it out. It's pretty good. Um, but I wanted to talk about something. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about doing this, and then after watching the video, I decided, why not just throw my 2 cents out there? And this is why people love reading or writing or creating fan fiction. Well, basically, reading and writing fan fiction. You see, fan fiction, in case some of you don't know, and if you don't, then where have you been? Fan fiction is basically a fan's interpretation of an already established product, of already established franchise or characters. Basically, fan fiction allows the fan to do things with these characters that you wouldn't normally see the official comics that adapt these characters into the comics, if you will, would do. To do things you necessarily wouldn't see these characters do in their animated or live action shows, or doing video games or whatever. Fan fiction allows you, basically, as the picture says itself, allows you to unleash your imagination. Now, you might ask yourself, well, why is it so popular? Again, like this thing says, it allows you to unleash your imagination and do things with the characters you normally probably wouldn't see in the video games. You normally wouldn't probably see in any kind of adaptations, whether it's comic book adaptations, movie adaptations, adaptations, animation adaptations, if you will, cartoon adaptations, claymation adaptations. Sometimes you normally wouldn't see. And fan fiction allows you to do that. And there have been several people that have embraced fan fiction to the point that they've done just what this picture says, unleash their imagination on the stories that they write. And the thing is, fan fiction actually allows them, what I'm trying to say is fan fiction allows them to actually take the characters and put them in stories that sometimes are a little bit more darker, a little bit more lighter, a little bit more comedic, a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more action and adventure than normally you would see elsewhere. In other words, than what you would see normally in the official products or the official adaptations. You could actually see a lot of other. You can actually read, or even visually see them do things, or be put in scenarios that normally you wouldn't see in the official stuff. You wouldn't. In fact, I can give you an example. J. Fox Fire, this past week or so, officially released, as of right now, the very last episode of Sonic GX. Now, Sonic GX is based around fan fiction, but it's fan fiction that's visually brought to life. Because basically what GX is a fan fiction idea of merging and crossing over the Sonic Saturday Morning cartoon show that ran from 1993 to 1995 with the Sonic X show, which ran from 2003 to 2006. And is still currently being shown in reruns on Vortex. on Saturday afternoons, at least where I'm at. Saturday mornings elsewhere. But still, the point is, Sonic GX is one of those examples where fans have unleashed their imaginations. People like Jay Foxfire has unleashed their imaginations to make this a reality, because officially it's not going to happen. Officially, you're not going to have something like Sonic GX become a reality. You're not. But only through fan fiction will it become a reality. In fact, there are even some current comic book writers out there that have done fan fiction work before they started doing the official work. Ian Flynn, despite how you feel about the guy, he did fan fiction. In fact, he did a very infamous fan fiction webcomic that was more darker, more violent than any other thing you've seen, Ian, when he came to the Sonic franchise. And he called it Other M. And he had people helping him with it. But you see, Sonic's not the only one that gets that gratification either. You also have things like Rescue Rangers. Chippendale Rescue Rangers from Disney. Disney fans through that have done some great stories. There was a website many years ago, I don't know if it's still around, called the Foxglove Feature. And one of its main categories, one of its main sections on the website was stories. And there was a lot of stories based around the Rescue Rangers, Foxglove, and other characters. In fact, there was one long, multi-chapter story. I can't think of it right now. But it was very dark, very dramatic at times, but also comedic. Also very comedic, involving around Dale and Foxglove. And that is stuff normally you would not see in an official adaptation. Now, true, a few years ago when Boom Studio Comics got the license to do a revival of the Rescue Ranger comics, they gave us not only new adventures, but you could tell that the people behind it were fans of the show and also were fans of fan fiction, because you had characters like Foxglove, you had characters like Tammy all come back, and in situations that you only read in fan fiction. That is how much of an influence fan fiction can have on people. That's how much of an influence fan fiction can have on people. The fact that you can actually, ladies and gentlemen, see it in official adaptions later down the line. But you see, that's what the influence of fan fiction does. But even if it's not influenced, fan fiction still, as again, like the picture says, allows people to unleash their imaginations. It does. Disney is a huge target when it comes to fan fiction, because people can actually adapt in a fan fiction way stories on characters in shows that normally you wouldn't see anywhere else. Excuse me. I'm getting over a bit of a cough and a cold. But again, you normally wouldn't see anywhere else. For example, Disney's Bonkers, whether you like Bonkers or not, people have adapted that probably just as much as Rescue Rangers, if not more so. And here's why. Because even though we only had about 64 episodes, even though we had about, or 65 episodes, even though we had about 19 Miranda episodes, 14 Lucky Paquel episodes, fans of the show saw potential in the show, in what could have been. They saw potential. And for years, people, even to this day, would write fan fiction stories. Because they know it's not officially going to be adapted. It's just something that they feel that if they, and this is the reason fan fiction exists, is the fact that the writer of the fan fiction story, or writers, even though they feel that those stories would never officially be adapted, they feel in their hearts that if they were in charge of the official work, that this is what they would write, right, as an official episode or official comic or whatever. But because they know that right now, just as fans, that's not going to really happen, they take it to this next level and they say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to, like, again, I hate to repeat myself, but again, like the thing says, unleash the imagination. And there are some fans, like there's this Peach Blossom fan. Yeah, that's her name. That's the name, Peach Blossom, who's a fan of Bonkers. And they basically adapt Bonkers to the point that some of the stories and some of the Friends stories, but mostly theirs from what I've seen and read, involve something that you normally wouldn't think would happen. You see, in their stories, you have Miranda and Bonkers at times, in some of their stories, falling in love with each other. Now, you might remember that video I did a couple months ago, earlier this year, or last year, where I talked about Miranda and Bonkers. Check that out, and you'll see what I mean. But again, you have this fan writing a fan fiction story about it, because they feel that even though it would never officially happen, it would never officially become reality, to them, this is something that they would write if they were in charge. And that's why fan fiction, exists the way it does. Because it allows people to basically have multiple among multiple, if not infinity worth of black, infinity worth, just have multiple among multiple to up to infinity worth of blank pages and blank canvases to write and paint a story on, to make it a reality in some way. And that's what fan fiction allows people to do. And this fan does it, and when this fan puts Bonkers and Miranda together as a couple, you know that in the official Bonker works of Disney, that would never happen, but in fan fiction it does. In fact, one of the more famous Bonker fan fiction stories, if not series, web series, if you will, is Bonkers 1999. Now, this is something that's supposed to take place years after, the Bonkers series officially ended. But from this person's perspective, it's what they feel could take place. Like, okay, what if the Bonkers show had continued? What if there was no limitations as to who could appear, who could be involved in the Bonkers shows, who could be involved in certain episodes and cases and all that? And the Bonkers 1999 series is a darker series. It is a bit of a darker series, if not a more at times dramatic series, but it is a darker series that stays true to the Bonkers element at times. And it goes in directions no one else would ever go in. It is basically off limits to what it can do. Well, not off limits. It's unlimited, I should say. It's unlimited to what it can do. I mean, you basically have, I think, about 9-10 chapters worth of this thing. And you have characters from DuckTales, Gargoyles, Aladdin, You have characters from other studios. From Warner Brothers to MGM to Hanna-Barbera. You have other studios and networks being talked about, like Cartoon Network. I mean, this is something, Bonkers 1999, this fan fiction series is a series that defines and shows exactly how unlimited fan fiction can be. It's that good. It really is. Now, fan fiction again, it lets you unleash your imagination. But fan fiction also allows you to do things with characters, like I said, you normally wouldn't see done. And allows you to cross over franchises that probably would never cross over. One fan, for example, is called Ingram. Ingram. I'll provide a link to the YouTube page if you want to check them out, as well as the fan fiction page. But Ingram, and I do a recommendation video on this person, but Ingram has done some stories in fan fiction and has embraced what fan fiction is about, because in their stories, they've taken established characters from several franchises and given them the power of rubber elasticity. Yeah. Basically, somehow or some way, each and every female, and that's right, they go with the female lead, female character ends up gaining somehow, in some way, elastic powers, enable them let me get some water here, folks. There we go. But enabling them to shapeshift the bodies into any shape, into any body shape they want, or shapeshift into anything they want to be. Any inanimate object, any animal, or any bits of clothing, or as anybody, or any bit of a disguise. For me, being a fan of fan fiction, one of them that I saw, that I got introduced to with Ingram's work, was called Stretchiest Mobians on Earth, the stretchiest Mobians on the planet, or something like that. And basically, the character that he starts out with getting these powers is Princess Sally. And then gradually, throughout the stories, which is in multiple chapters, he gives it to characters like Fiona. He gives it to characters like Nicole. He gives it to, and he does that in a unique way, which you got to read for yourself. He gives it to characters like Loop, to the Wolf twins, Lita and Lyko, to Loop's daughter. I mean, again, these are just things you get. I mean, Amy Rose, he gives it to, and again, you just got to read. I don't want to give much away, but you just got to read that story to see how this happens, and it works. And it works out tremendously. It works out tremendously. Hold on for a second. Sorry about that. My dog was barking at people going across. Walking in front of the house. But anyway, like I was saying, you have to read Ingram's stories to kind of see what I'm talking about. But it's really unique how it's done. But it's not just, the Sonic female characters that get these powers. He also gives it to Colleen of Road Rovers. Yeah, Colleen of Road Rovers. He gives it to her. He gives it to Lola Bunny from the new Looney Tunes show, if you will. He gives it, believe it or not, this is going to get you right here. He gives it to Katie and Candy and two other characters from the Alpha and Omega movies. Yeah, the Alpha and Omega wolf movies, CGI wolf movies. Ingram gives the elastic powers to them as well. So, again, that's what fan fiction allows people to do, to unleash, as the thing says, their imagination and do things they normally wouldn't be able to do with these characters. I mean, even with original characters, fan fiction is a huge deal. Even with original characters, fan fiction is a huge deal. Let me explain. For example, someone could take an original character and do things with them in fan fiction that would take some time if they wanted to, if they would take some time in probably to them to draw in comic form or in single page form. I've mentioned this before, there's several people that take Slime Girl characters, original Slime Girl characters, if you will, and they do this with them. They take it to that next level. They take it to that next level in fan fiction. They let them meet up with other Slime Girl characters or Rubber Elastic like characters and actually do a fusion and merge with them and become a single being. That's the kind of stuff fan fiction opens the door to. It does. And again, it's also seen in web comics and stuff like that. But of course, with all that being the positives of what fan fiction can do, there's also one category, though, that many fans of fan fiction go to, that, let's just say, you have to be 18 and over to even understand and enjoy. Yeah. There are several people out there that do what is known as adult fan fiction, and they use the adult fan fiction just like they do regular fan fiction, and they take established characters, like characters from the Sonic franchise, from Looney Tunes, from Disney, from Simpsons, you name it, and they put them in a very adult-oriented situations, if you know what I mean. I'm not lying, folks. They put them in some very adult-oriented situations, if you know what I mean. And it's not just in fan fiction, but it's also in fan fiction comics as well. Fan fiction comics as well, which are known as fan comics. The fan fiction comics, the fan comics, if you will, do this as well. I mean, they do it. Fan comics, like I mentioned before, like with Other M and Sonic GX and Season and all that, they take advantage of the fan comics in an all general audience kind of way, or PG kind of way, if you will. But the fan comics of the adult-oriented section of fan fiction takes it up a notch by 10. Because they put these characters in situations that would really surprise you. From what one person told me, there's a fan comic of Tails, according to what they told me in a description, of Tails creating a machine where he was able to basically holographically simulate, or basically from what they told me, Tails created a machine that allowed him to create realistic simulations of all girl characters that basically he had affection for. Characters, from what they told me in description, like Fiona, from Amy Rose to Marina, to Bobbery Koala, names like that. And I read this, I'm thinking, and I'm reading this description, and I'm like, what? Because I couldn't believe it myself. And then they go on to say, oh, by the way, there's one or actually 2 pages or 2 comic pages where the girls actually, where the simulated, digitalized, or holographic version of the girls, or the simulation of the girls, the Sims, if you will. Actually, from what this person told me, was there's actually 1 or 2 pages where the simulations of the girls, individually merge together into one entity, into one form. Yeah, basically, from what this person told me in the description, basically all the simulations of the female characters, like I've mentioned, of Amy and Bobbery Koala and Fiona and Marina, all merged together into a single form. And I looked at this and I'm like, I looked and read this and I'm like, what the hey? Because I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Because the person, I'm not going to mention any names, but the person that drew this comic, from what I was told, is the same kind of person that has come out and told individuals that he would never do things of the weird factor. He wouldn't. And yet, there you go. But the point is, that's a level of fan fiction that unless you're 18 or over, it's like, and you want, and you know, there are people that when they hear about this, when they hear that there's adult fan fiction out there or adult fan comics of these franchises from Sega, Disney, Warner Brothers, you know, Film Roman, whatever, DC, Marvel, you know, when they read Nickelodeon, you know, Cartoon Network, you know, when they hear about this, they wonder why people would do this. Why would people go out of the way to write fan fiction, adult fan fiction stories, or type it up, or go out of the way and draw up these fan fiction comics in an adult-oriented way? And again, it's all about the fact. It's all about the fact, that just like the title says there, fan fiction allows you to unleash your imagination, and that's what the adult fan fiction does the same thing. Allows people to unleash their imagination. Even allows them to kind of unleash their imaginations towards their certain fantasies, if you know what I mean. Certain fantasies of variations of ways that I will not mention, I will not speak of right now, and probably never will. But the thing is, that's what fan fiction does, even on an adult platform. And that is why fan fiction, general audience wise, from general audience wise to adult wise, why fan fiction is such a popular medium. Because it allows you, again, and I hate to repeat myself once again, but like the picture says, allows you to unleash your imagination. It allows you to write things that you normally would not officially be adapted in any official form. It allows you to draw, if you like to do it from a fan comics kind of standpoint, to write and draw it in a way that you know normally in reality would never officially be adapted. And that is why fan fiction, from a general standpoint to an adult standpoint, is very popular with people, and why it stays popular, and why people enjoy it. So that's all I'm going to say on it, folks. Let me know what you think down below. Comment if you like, and I will talk to y'all later.